Okay, let's call this meeting to order. I'll start with prayer. If you guys would bow your head for me, please. Father God, we just come to you today, Lord, just to give you thanks for all the many blessings that you have given us. Father, I pray that you'll be with this meeting tonight. Help us to conduct business as we need to conduct it and honor you, Father. Thank you for just the opportunity to do this and to give thanks. All these things I ask in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, so the first item on our agenda tonight is consideration of a resolution. It's a resolution authorizing the sheriff to apply for a fiscal year 2025-26 selective traffic enforcement program, the STEP grant totaling $128,498.85, federal funds of $101,498.85, and a local match of $27,000.
Move to adopt.
Second.
We have a motion on the floor from Justice Brown and a second. We have any discussion on this?
Madam Chair, the STEP grant, as you know, is a big part of our Sheriff's Office operational expense. It gives the deputies to get some more time on the street, and it also allows us to do things like seatbelt violations, check people for insurance tags, things of that nature. So it's a great program that we've used for, I guess, probably the past 4 or 5 years, and this is just making us aware that the sheriff is wanting to apply for that again. I think it's a great use.
Okay, any other questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes for the resolution. So item number 3 on our agenda is the consideration of a resolution. It's a resolution authorizing the Division II Juvenile Judge to apply for a fiscal year 2024 Arkansas Administrative Office of the Courts, AOC Supplemental Juvenile Court Funding Grant totaling $4,000 and no match is required.
Vote for due pass.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. We have any discussion? Sorry.
So, Madam Chair, this is it's $4,000. There's no match. It's a grant that juvenile court can use for their programs. I believe they can use it for the SEEDS program, the JUMP program, the juvenile programs that they administer in this building. After hours, they use that back room, and when we're not here, they use the big room for juvenile families in need and things of that nature. So it's a great opportunity to get that $4,000 to go towards those programs.
Do we have any questions? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Item number 4 on the agenda is a consideration of a resolution authorizing the county judge to apply for a fiscal year 2025 Arkansas Economic Development Commission, AEDC, Community Assistant Grants. This grant is to help fund the cost of the Senior Citizen Center.
Move to adopt.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on this?
Madam Chair, this is an opportunity that came before us, I guess, 2 weeks ago. Received an email, and Senior Citizen Centers were one of the items that you can apply for with this grant. There's values up to $1.5 million.
Yeah, I was going to ask the amount. Okay.
So we are hoping that we get something, and we'd love to get to 1.5 million, but
Heck yeah.
we're in the process of applying right now, and we're working on the lease agreement, try to get it done with Common Spirit Health, because we do have to have the lease agreement in place before we can do this. Has to be turned in by the end of July, but Laney's got most everything taken care of on it. So we're excited about that. I think it's a good opportunity for us to get some money to go towards our senior center construction.
Okay, are we going to apply for the 1.5?
Yes, we're going to apply for everything we can get, as many times as we can.
Agree. Okay, any more discussion, any questions? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 5, consideration of a resolution authorizing the prosecuting attorney to apply for fiscal year 2025-26 Victims of Crime Act, VOCA, Victims Assistance Grant Program totaling $121,592, federal funds of $97,180, and a local match of $24,412.
Move to
Move for
adopt.
adoption.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Do we have any comments, questions on this?
So I don't think there's anyone here from the prosecutor's office tonight, but the VOCA, I think this provides for two VOCA employees, and it's kind of a odd swing on the term that it comes for. It starts in October, or starts in September and starts in October and ends in September. It's federal fiscal year, but it's a little bit off from what the normal federal fiscal year is. But for the past, we normally, I guess in 2 years ago, we had just for one employee with VOCA, and now we had the opportunity to get two employees through VOCA grant. And so it's a minimal amount to pay to get those two employees that are the victims, reach out people as well. I mean, it's something that the prosecutor's office definitely has to have. It's the person that has a conversation with those that have been most affected by the crime.
Agreed. Does anybody have any questions? Comments? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Okay, item number 6, consideration of an ordinance authorizing the county and county library to continue to do business with the Arkansas Library Association. Adam Webb is the elected president of this association.
Vote for due pass.
Second.
A motion and a second on the floor. Do we have any questions, comments?
You have a member of the gallery that would like to speak.
Okay.
I'm not sure if that mic's on, Russ.
Just state your name and your district for the record.
There's a little,
There you go, this side of thing.
there you go. You got
Thank
it.
you. Members of the Finance Committee, I appreciate your time tonight. I just want to bring to your attention a trend that's going on nationwide where numerous states, including Montana, Missouri, Texas, Alabama, Florida, Georgia, Arizona, Illinois, Louisiana, Mississippi, South Carolina, South Dakota, Idaho, and Tennessee have all passed laws restricting or prohibiting libraries from receiving state monies if they were part of the American Library Association. This was highlighted by Senator Dan Sullivan at a budget committee meeting at the state capitol on March the 18th. And the reasons why some entities or some governments are not wanting their libraries to be a member of this organization is because of DEI policies, liberal positions, climate change ideology, refusal to restrict children's access to certain materials within the libraries. And additionally, the Arkansas Library Association is a chapter of the American Library Association. And so by being a member of this or passing a resolution saying we support this, are we supporting the policies of the organization that we're joining? I don't think these align with the beliefs of a lot of people of Garland County. This subject came up late last week. It was published, I believe, in the agenda for the first time. I think it just deserves some discussion. I mean, I'm not trying to tell you how to think. I'm just wanting to see that that there's a healthy discussion as to whether we want to support that as this ordinance says or not. I understand there are several additional parts to the ordinance, but the part that refers to our support of that organization, I think that needs to be questioned. Does it question your political beliefs and those of the people? One other question I'd like to ask is, who is a sponsor? Who brought this forward?
I'm not sure what you're asking.
Was there a JP that sponsored this?
This is a transparency ordinance that we try to do for every employee or elected official that might have a conflict or could be perceived as a conflict. This is just a transparency ordinance to prevent that perception from becoming reality.
So did a JP bring this forward? No?
No.
Because it's my understanding of Arkansas Code 1414-905 that the only way that an ordinance can be introduced is by a justice of the peace or by referendum or initiative of the people. So I question as to whether this has been properly brought up.
Understood.
That's all. Thank you.
Do you have anybody else that'd like to speak on this matter?
I'd like to comment on this particular one. I'm not a member of the Finance Committee, and I have some of the same concerns as Mr. Thomas does. And when I came in tonight, I did advise Mr. Webb of my concerns about this, and I talked to him. And basically what I want to do is just put some information out there and then allow Mr. Webb to answer any of the concerns that I possibly might have on this, so he could, and like I was telling Mr. Webb, it's basically to make sure that this court is well and sufficiently advised and has the information necessary in order to make an informed decision, because that's what I'm used to. I'm an attorney, so I'm used to doing that. One of the concerning thing to me is that the Arkansas Library Association is affiliated with the American Library Association. The American Library Association has what they call a Library Bill of Rights. In that particular Bill of Rights, Article 5 states a person's rights to use the library should not be denied or abridged because of origin, age, includes access to services, and that has to do unaccompanied youth, minors, age-appropriate maturity. In other words, they say that it doesn't matter about their age. They still should have access to it. And I have a real problem with that particular, that kids should be allowed to have access to library materials the same as adults. I don't think that's exactly right. And that may be an overly broad interpretation that I have of that. And that's what I was talking to Mr. Webb about. And maybe he could clear up some of that. And I'm not sure if this is the case now. And I also talked to Mr. Webb about this. The former president of the American Library Association, she said that she would boycott states that has separate boys and girls sports, that has separate bathrooms, and stand your ground. Now, I don't have any idea why she would include that. Now, boycott, but what she meant by that is that those states that did that, then they wouldn't be allowed to participate in American Library Association conferences and all that sort of thing. However, she's not, in all fairness, she is no longer the president of American Library Association. There's a different lady, and I'm not sure if those same policies are in effect or not at this period of time. However, what we do have is we have what I view as an extreme left-leaning policies, and that concerns me quite a bit. I could not support association or put my name on or spend Garland County's taxpayers' money to have an association that is affiliated with an organization that has these extreme views. They are certainly anti-conservative. One of the other things I want to bring up too is this particular issue came up in the recent legislative session of the Arkansas legislature. What happened was that they wanted the library board to come up with a policy saying that they would have restrictions on age-appropriate materials. They refused to do that. What resulted was the Arkansas legislature enacted a law that got rid of all 7 members and gave Governor Sanders the ability to appoint 7 new members. It was the same issue that I have with American Library Association. So, this is not just a local problem, as Mr. Thomas pointed out to you. It's a national problem. It even goes farther. It's a national issue. 10 or 12 states already pulled out. I just have real concerns about that. And then I would welcome anything that Mr. Webb has to say about that, but that's my opposition to it, and that's my concerns on this particular issue. My kids, all my grandkids, live in Garland County. They use the library. I like the library. But I don't want them exposed to stuff either. There are other issues, but not as compelling as this. And I do want to make sure that you understand that I'm not trying to make this about Mr. Webb at all. That's not what this is about. What this is about the affiliation with an organization that has extreme views. And I could never put my name or spend money or devote to spend money, Garland County residents' money, on an organization that supports that or affiliated with that. Thank you.
Adam, would you like to address that?
Sure. Thanks for giving me the opportunity to speak and address your concerns, Justice Hooten. The very first one that I think needs to be addressed is that the Arkansas Library Association is not the American Library Association. We are a state chapter, and every state in America has a state chapter affiliate of the American Library Association. It's kind of a loose affiliation. Our funding doesn't go to the American Library Association. As far as I understand our funding, our dollars stay here in the state. They go to putting on a conference every year, like every association. That's our biggest expense. The other things are per diem for travel if one of the officers has to go to a regional meeting, which there are regional library associations as well, like the Southeast Library Association, which we're also an affiliate chapter of. Justice Hooten had asked about the State Library Board. As far as I understand, that board has no affiliation with the American Library Association. They don't pay any dues. They don't have an institutional membership or anything like that. They are a completely separate entity. The state did take up a bill this year that would have addressed this very concern, to say no funds will go to the American Library Association, and it didn't make it out of committee. There were some concerns about the right of free association and punishing an association for protected speech issues, and so it didn't make it any farther than that. The Library Bill of Rights, which Justice Hooten mentioned, is not a actual Bill of Rights. It is more of an inspirational piece. And as far as I understand, the restriction or their hesitance against restrictions on materials has more to do with keeping local governments out of costly lawsuits like we've seen in Crawford County and other counties in Arkansas by committing prior restraint. So pulling books that haven't gone through a process which is lawful or legal is what the ALA Bill of Rights is essentially saying, that you can't restrict access to materials that doesn't run aground of Arkansas's harmful to minors law, which has been good law in the state for a long time. On average, and I'll just proffer this up, I don't even know if it was asked, but the amount that we spend on the Arkansas Library Association annually is fairly minimal. It's about $1,300 a year. That goes towards memberships and then conference registration fees. You are correct. That was the former president of the American Library Association. She is no longer the president, and I don't think she would have been the president of the association if she would have said before her election what she said after her election. I think that was all the questions you asked or had comments about. I don't know if I missed any there, but if you do read over the policy manual of the Arkansas Library Association, it's really good reading if you are having a hard time sleeping. I mean, it's really boring stuff. Our handbook talks about the same sort of stuff we're doing here, bylaws and parliamentary procedure. If you search our website for things like climate change or diversity, you're not going to find anything. I mean, the Arkansas Library Association really exists as a professional association to help train librarians and provide scholarship money for people who want to be librarians. It's a trade group, and our focus is on Arkansas libraries and librarians and not any national issues or hot button topics. If there is a law that gets passed that might put us into arrears, which I've had some questions from members of the Quorum Court about my participation in the lawsuit regarding Act 372. Part of that was for self-preservation. Our county has a policy that says if you do something that you are knowingly aware violates constitutional rights, that you lose your job. And the state put us in between a rock and a hard place and said, go violate some constitutional rights or you're not going to get your state money. So that's why we filed the lawsuit, was to try to clear that up.
Adam, how long has Garland County Library been a member of the Arkansas Library Association?
I believe about 50 years. And the state association was the organization that created the Arkansas State Library Commission, which then became the State Library Board.
Madam Chair, if I may.
Go ahead.
Question I have, so we've been a part of it for quite some time. So this ordinance, if I understood what the judge said, was simply like we've done in the past with when the county's insurance was with Blue Cross, we did an ordinance where it allowed us to continue to do business and not a conflict of interest. Same thing with Dr. Peters. There's an ordinance on the book to continue to do business with Lake Hamilton Animal Hospital. So this is not approving any expenditure. We don't approve any expenditure for the library. Is that correct?
The board does.
The library board does. Okay, so in here were the dues. We're not approving any money because that's outside of our realm. We would just be approving or acknowledging the conflict of interest for Adam to be on the board and be a Garland County employee, i.e. of the director of the library, correct?
Correct.
Okay. One other question, and I'll send it out to Russ, and I may have misunderstood one of your last statements, so I pulled up the ordinance to try to read through it quickly. As you were walking away, you said something about the ordinance supporting the Arkansas Library Association. I don't see any phrase in this ordinance that says the Garland County Quorum Court or the County of Garland supports the Library Association. Can you point me to what I may be overlooking? Okay. Yeah, I'll give you a few. Okay. That's all I had.
I have a question. Adam, how long have you been the elected president of the association?
I was elected, I believe it was November of last year, and it didn't dawn on me until people started saying that their memberships were coming due and that we would have bills soon, that we needed to do an appropriation or an ordinance acknowledging the potential conflict of interest. It's a 3-year commitment, so you get 1 year as president-elect, and your only job really is to put on the conference, which is a nightmare for me because I've never put on a conference before, and this is a lot of wrangling cats more than anything else. And then your presidential year is the one where you put forward an agenda and try to enact policies and changes to the organization. And then your past president year is just kind of a victory lap. So it's a 3-year commitment.
So we've been a member 50 years and we've paid dues to the Arkansas Library Association for those years.
Yeah, they've fluctuated over those 50 years. 50 years ago, the library only had a handful of employees and only a couple of them were members of the association. But even back to our earliest board minutes I could find, one of the first orders of business was paying for membership dues for the first county librarian Vivian Maddox back in like 1949 or so.
What is the advantage? What is the advantage of being affiliated with American Library Association?
Well, part of it is, and bear in mind, these are two separate things. You know, we have dues for the Arkansas Library Association, and then if people want to be members of the American Library Association, those are separate. So you don't actually, if you are a member of ARLA, you're not a member of ALA. You can be one without the other. But really a lot of it is access to training, access to professional help, and a lot of it is really esoteric, wonky stuff like cataloging books or having issues navigating purchasing an integrated library system. So your software that you use for all your check-in and check-out, they have consultants that will help your state chapter, that sort of stuff.
Okay.
Once again, kind of boring stuff.
Adam, I had one question. So we do that membership, we do it once a year annually? Is it the beginning of every year?
It is, I wish it was every year on the same day, but as people's memberships lapse, it's just on a calendar year. So if you become a member on October 1st, then your membership comes back due, you know, October 1st.
Okay, so really the only question on this was your membership?
Mine isn't until September, I believe. And typically the way the library has done that, if there's an interested ordinance kind of thing just within the library, a good example of this is my wife works for Mid-America Science Museum, and we occasionally partner with them on issues, and I recuse myself from any discussion about it at the board. I don't approve those invoices. I get our assistant library director to handle all that, and I just stay out of it. So it would be a similar kind of thing. Once the invoice comes up for my renewal, I would recuse myself and let the discussion happen among the board.
Okay, thank you.
How much is it anyway? I didn't see anything here that says how much it is.
I believe, and don't quote me on this, but I believe the highest membership level is like $80.
Oh, I thought it was 1,000.
That's for all of our staff and their continuing ed and then their conference registration fees.
Okay.
$1,300 is for all the library staff. And we might actually be doing it slightly differently this year because the association has put together institutional memberships, which are cheaper for larger library systems like ours that might have a number of employees who are members of the association and want to go to the conference.
Okay.
Do we have any more questions?
I was going to go back to Russ and see if he was able to find anything. I used Adobe search and searched the entire packet and didn't find the word support at all in this ordinance. So I wanted to see if there was a different version or something I missed. Okay, thank you.
Okay, do we have any additional questions, comments, concerns? We have a motion?
Already got it.
Oh, we already got a motion. Okay, sorry. Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. And item number 7 on your agenda is consideration of ordinance amending the 2025 Garland County Budget Ordinance O-2433 to anticipate revenues, appropriate, and transfer funds within various budgets and for other purposes. There are items A through E. Oh, it's A, B, C, D, E.
Move to adopt to get it on the floor for discussion.
Okay. I have a motion and a second. We have any questions?
I will go through these one by one, Madam Chair, and if you got any questions when we get done, I'll be glad to try to answer them. So as you are aware, Garland County has been working on the next phase of the landfill. This is phase 3. We've already done phase 1 and 2, completed those. We're in the process of completing the last cell in phase 2. and we are starting phase 3, which this construction will be cell 1 in phase 3. In an effort to keep from going to ADEQ every 2 years and going through the process and paying engineering, we are looking to do the largest cell in Garland County's history this time. We're looking at doing 4.7 acres for our first cell out of the phase 3, which will give us a longer time. We can operate on half of it and keep the other covered with vegetation, or we can operate on the whole thing. If we have a big hailstorm and we get a bunch of shingles, we'll obviously go ahead and operate on the whole landfill foot. We are getting really close to having our last cell in phase 2 completed. We are on the last lift, and it's getting very close. We have completed, I think right now we've completed 9 of the required 12 months of piezometer readings from the rainfall. We are in very good shape there. I think the closest was 7 feet that it was from the bottom of the liner, which is what it has to be. So we're in good shape on that. And this is each year in your budget, you'll see, I think we put $302,000 a year into a fund for this purpose right here, so that we can add on to the landfill, we can develop the landfill, we can do whatever we need to. Now, included in this year, we only budgeted a certain amount to do this new cell. And at the same time, we were told in November that we had an overfill on the western bank. Basically, it's phase 1 that was built long before Billy was ever at the landfill. It's the beginning phase, and it has slumped, so it's got a little overfill, what they call overfill, on the western slope of it. And it's not trash, it's dirt, and from back when they used racetrack straw and things of that nature for cover, it has sloped down. So we've got to move that back up. And so in the process, we're going to seal phase 1, which is the same process to build a new cell. You have to bring clay in, you have to get it back where it goes, and you have to have engineering come out and stake it all out. We put it back where it goes, and then we seal it all with clay, just like we do the base of a liner. And in order to find that clay, you have to have it has to meet certain requirements. You have to have an engineering test done on it. You have to have a geologist look at it. You have to have it gone through. We use a company called Terracon, and they have approved the clay that we've got for this process right now. It's going to be about 10 acres that we wind up covering with clay. So it's all got to be imported, and it's all got to be put in place. And with the new spot, it has to meet, with the new cell that we're opening, it has to meet certain requirements so that there's a little bit of pass through, but not a lot of pass through or any moisture. Last year, if you remember, we did the whole phase. We got 11 acres cleared and ready, and this will be the first cell in that phase. But what we want to do before we get too far away from the beginning point, we want to go back and do closure on that so we don't have any problems with it later, and we can wrap it in clay and we'll vegetate it, and it will become a closed section of the landfill, just like the park where Cedar Glades Park is now. So we can start using it for other purposes other than just the landfill. The 2A and B both are in reference to that. C is putting money back in to pay back for our OMH fund. We just completed our terracotta project on the courthouse. That was an AHPP grant. And so we'll be receiving that money, and this is to put it back in and pay the OMH fund back because they're reimbursable grants. So you do the work, you turn in the invoice, you pay for it, and then you get reimbursed from AHPP. And this is to put that money back in here for the last phase that we did of the terracotta and some points around the top that we found when we were up there. So both C and D are both about the OMH fund. And then, as you know from the previous ordinance, E is the $4,000 for the C's program and the JUMPS program, the juvenile administrator. Be glad to answer any questions, but it's the cell. I think that we received an estimate from Craft and Toll that it should last us about 4.5 to 5 years at today's rate. 3 years ago, it would have lasted us 8 years. That's how much the landfill has grown, and the volume that we're still seeing the same numbers come through there as we did prior to the increase that we did on out-of-county people. They're finding out that the other counties have had to go to the same thing. The ones that have a Class 4 landfill in their counties, they've had to do the same thing to increase their costs. Going forward, we will continue to put that money in that fund so that in 5 years when we need to do another cell, we've got the phase already done, so we don't have to pay for the phase, but we'll need to do another cell, 4.5 or 5 years, depending on what kind of weather we have and what kind of product we have to put in there. But we've got a lot of the work done already. We've got the road mostly constructed around the outside. We've just got to turn the water. It's hopefully, we've already taken the bids on it. The low bid was like $1.5 million. The other two came in at about $1.9 million. And the reason being is because the 1.5 had clay locally that didn't have to be trucked so far. So the logistics make the biggest difference in this. Owning your own clay, having your clay in Garland County that you can use makes a big difference in the cost of what it actually takes to open another phase. And we saw this exact same thing. As a matter of fact, the same contractor that's doing it this time did the last cell as well. And so they had another cache of clay that they used the last time. And it's pretty strict about the sandiness, everything in the clay has to be just right for us to have those geotechs come in and test it. And it came back, first time it came back really good. The moisture content's good in it. And it makes a good ball. So I think we've got a good product there, and we hope to get started pretty quickly on that so we can get it all put in place before we get to the wet season again. And hopefully by October, November, we'll get approval from ADEQ to go ahead and start using that. We can transition from the last phase and the last cell in phase 2 and transition over, because they actually tie together. And so we'll transition over to the new phase and be able to bring them up to cap them off at the same time. In 5 years, we'll probably be looking at closing out cell 2, just like we are cell 1 right now, or phase 1 right now. So that's the long and short of that. Like I say, I'll try to answer any questions. Billy Sawyer's here too, if anybody has any questions for him, but that's kind of where we're at. And if you go out there and stand with, I've still got skin flaking off my head from getting sunburned the last time we was out there. Billy looked everywhere for a cap for me because we was out there for an hour and a half. And didn't make any difference. He still got sunburned. But if you haven't been to the landfill, and I think everybody here has, you got to go. I know that sounds crazy, but you got to go out there and see how well it's run, how good the shape it's in. And it's even when it's pouring down rain, we have material. Billy's got material that he brings in and puts it out so nobody gets stuck. We don't track mud out. We have a great operation. And while I'm on the subject, we are 30 to 45 days from having the bridge complete to the west of the landfill entrance, barring any bad weather. I think we've got as John Howard says, an Old Testament flood coming again this coming weekend, but surely we're fixing to get to the dry spell where they can do that. They have the piles on site now. We've already had some theft and vandalism down there from the contractor. So Billy's made it possible for them to put their equipment inside the gate at night at the landfill. And unfortunately, it's just, you had the road blocked off. I think we've lost 10 barricades from people just driving over them. They don't move them out of the way. They literally drive over the top of them and splinter them. We make our own barricades at the road department because they're cheaper, and they splinter them and turn them into wood shavings. So Mobley is very positive about what we're going to do here. And so I think that we're going to see, the only thing we have left to do after they complete is we'll have to put a pass of 2 inches of asphalt back over the top of it. We raised the bridge 6 inches so that we don't have that 8-inch deficit that it had on it before. We'll put 2 inches on it. I already have it lined up with RDOT to do our inspection. We'll have a stamp on it because Origin Engineering did all the engineering on it. So we'll be good to go for a long time, because it's not going back on spread footings. It's actually going back on driven piles that are driven in about 25 foot deep.
Sweet.
So your goal for that bridge is June 30th?
I'm sorry.
I said, so your goal for that bridge is June 30th?
I think I'm pushing pretty hard to get that June 30th deal done. If we have good weather, I feel pretty positive about that.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, does anybody else have any more questions on any of these items? No questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Do pass. Okay, the next item on the agenda is to transfer to capital assets line items. The sheriff has requested to transfer in general fund, sheriff's budgets, parts and auto repairs line item to the machinery and equipment line item to pay for a new lift for the sheriff's garage. Transfer from 1000.0400.2047 parts and auto repair, transfer to 1000.0400.4004 machinery and equipment, $7,900. A motion?
Move for adoption.
Second.
Have a motion from Anderson, a second from Peters. Any questions on this? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Next, we have our under other business, we have the position and salary adjustments. See, we've got two increases, one decrease, and one across the board there. The motion for approval,
So move.
Second.
motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, let's move on to the overtime report.
You notice that the overtime for May is up some, and of course, that reflects what took place in April. We all, both landfill and the road department and the sheriff's office, had significant overtime due to the flooding that we had.
Motion for approval of the overtime report.
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we'll move on down to the sales tax collections, solid waste fund.
Sales tax collections are still down just a bit, but rebates are down as well. So it kind of offsets there. We're hoping that we're optimistic that the crowds that we've seen in the past couple of weeks, we're going to see us start to return to a level that we were in 2024. But the Oaklawn numbers, if you look at those, they're up to offset that. So we're still right now, we're a little bit ahead, even though our numbers for sales tax are reduced.
I like Miss Susan's account of it, the shorthand.
All right, we're down at 25, but we're up above 23. So that's a
go.
good sign.
Right.
Had a good-
We've
had a
for
good
about
year.
4 years now, we've had record growth each year. And so at some point you have to balance out and have a period of correction. And that's where we're at now. Obviously, if we're down this year, next year, you'll probably be up from this year, but it's a good way to look at it. Looking back at 23, if you look at the past 5 years, we're still up.
ahead.
Doing a lot of growth.
I have to look at bar graphs now. I like your version a lot better. 2 sentences.
Okay, we have a motion for approval of the report.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the last item is the Oaklawn report.
It seemed to be doing really well. It's grown more than 23 to 24, and hope that continues throughout the year. I know they do a lot to try to improve the revenue out there, so we're glad they do.
Move to adopt.
Second.
We have a motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we have any additional business? Okay, meeting adjourned.
Thank you all.